But let's talk about those modern trends, right? So direct sales right here in the fall 2024 looks so much different than it did, I mean, even 6 months ago, a year ago, a couple of years ago, let alone a decade ago, right? So I'd love to hear, what are some of those emerging trends that you're seeing? And how do we as an industry, both on the corporate side, but also in the field, really stay relevant as an industry to continue to grow? Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so happy you're here with me today because we have a fabulous guest joining us. And it's been a little while since we've had a guest on the podcast. So, Jodi Crater, Senior VP of Sales and Field Development at Lemongrass Spa. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you are here.
Oh my gosh, I am so happy to be with you, Becky. I feel like a year ago, we talked about doing this podcast, and it's literally taken a full year before we actually have the chance to do it. So it's such an honor to spend time with you and all your followers today. It's going to be fun.
Oh, well, right back at you. I feel like it's given us a year to formulate all of our thoughts and ideas about the craziness that's been happening inside the direct sales industry. So I feel like this episode is dropping at the most perfect time. And I'm so excited to brag on all the cool things that you're doing at Lemongrass Spa and share those with our listeners today. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit of your story. How did you land in direct sales and come to enter this role at Lemongrass?
Right? Like everyone, there's got to be a story
There's a
somewhere,
story
right?
behind it.
There's
Yeah.
a story. Well, mine started like in 1998. I joined a company and it was an epic fail. I didn't do anything that I was supposed to do. I didn't follow directions. Maybe it wasn't the right time. I have no idea, but I was one of those individuals that are gone in 90 days. And I was like, well, that didn't work. And so 2004, I did what so many people did back then. I went to my neighbor's party and they were showing some skincare. And I was like, oh, I really like the products. But here's the thing, Becky. No one asked me if I was curious about the opportunity. No one said, hey, do you want to learn a little bit more? Nothing. So I was silently curious. And I think a lot of people are silently curious that you connect to, but I was silently curious and no one offered me the opportunity. And not knowing what I didn't know, I ended up joining somebody else 6 weeks later and built a six-figure income in 18 months at that company. So just remember, when people are talking to someone, somebody might be silently curious. That's why you always want to make sure.
Always ask.
Always ask, so you just don't know. And then 2008, I left the field, went to my first corporate role in direct selling. And from there, I just went in where I was consulting with dozens of different direct selling companies, been in the field twice, a 2-time six-figure earner. I have spent a lot of time in product development and manufacturing side, working with direct-to-consumer beauty brands. I've worked with over 20 direct-to-consumer beauty brands, and I've held lots of different titles in direct selling, from president to director of sales and marketing and VP of sales and all the fun things. And I've been in about 15 different countries in this industry. So I've been all over. Basically, I'm 114 years old. No.
I was going to say, you look real good.
It's Lemongrass Spa products. But I've been in the industry and worn so many different hats. So I really love having these conversations about things that are happening in the industry. So I'm excited to dig in with you today.
Yay, so good. And tell us today, so you're with Lemongrass Spa now, supporting the field, sales strategy. I know you've been wearing lots of hats over the last few years, and we've had a chance to get to know each other and work together in that role. So tell us a little bit about what you do today.
Oh my gosh. At Lemongrass Spa, I've been really having a lot of fun, really helping look at some sales strategies, things that are aligning with emerging trends that we're talking about. I've had my hand in some product development. We've released some really amazing new products recently that have got some really great studies behind it. So having a lot of fun and looking at ways to support our consultants so they can earn money a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, a little easier, a little more simplified, and really fit with the modern trends that are happening in direct selling. So lots of fun things. We've got a lot of exciting things happening with Lemongrass Spa. thinking about it's like now the OG of clean beauty in the industry, which is crazy. It launched in 2002. So excited for things that are happening over there.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to dive into that here in a minute, but let's talk about those modern trends, right? So, direct sales right here in the fall 2024 looks so much different than it did, I mean, even 6 months ago, a year ago, a couple of years ago, let alone a decade ago, right? So, I'd love to hear, what are some of those emerging trends that you're seeing? And how do we, as an industry, both on the corporate side, but also in the field, really stay relevant as an industry to continue to grow?
I love that. It's a good question because I think this question, talking about this, is going to really speak into the strengths of our industry. I mean, let's face it, Becky, everyone here has heard all the chatter happening about mergers and acquisitions, about people shifting their business models. And I know a lot of your listeners have questioned like how the sustainability of the business model is going to be. Where is it going to go in the future? What's happening? And I mean, I think back to when I just mentioned I left, obviously the field in 2008, right? It was 2008. That wasn't that long ago. The direct selling industry was 29 billion annually in sales. And you think about then in 2022, it was over 40 billion in sales with over 40 million customers that either have a preferred customer account or maybe they're on an auto ship. That's 40 million. That's not even those, all the retail customers or the ones that buy a product here and there. Crazy how big the industry is. And thinking about the economic impact report that came out, right? $111 billion in the US, the impact of this industry. So I think when we see emerging trends, we have to realize these trends are working for the industry, not against the industry. If you're in the industry, are you thinking this might be happening to me? It's happening for you. So we're going to see that evolution of trends happening and the impact it has, right? Party plan model started in the 1930s. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of how we've reimagined the party concept here at Lemongrass Spa. But these things are so crazy to think about how it continues to change, right? In 2012 was really when you started to see the shift where those that were doing social selling were outpacing in sales of those that were not engaged in social selling. That was 2012. That was 8 years before COVID. Think about where we are right now. We are over 4 years post-COVID. Not that far away before we were even thinking about social selling. So again, I think there's so many cool things that are happening in emerging trends, and I'm going to chat about some of those. But I really want all your listeners to be thinking about, wow, you're right. These are trends that we should be embracing and not being fearful of right now because there's so much greatness that are happening and it's going to elevate our industry for you, not to you. So let's talk about some of those key emerging trends. So I think at Lemongrass Spa, Becky, I think a lot about like the different ways that their consumers are engaging in brands in some different silos. Like we think about uniqueness of brands and products. We think about location and meaning in the ease to purchase. And of course, pricing, right? The whole value of what's happening right now and the macroeconomics that are impacting our industry. So I'm thinking about trends in regards to that. So thinking about trends that are happening as far as impacting uniqueness, right? AI is obviously an emerging trend. It is not going away. It helps, right? As you are a direct seller, it helps you with content. It can help you batch content. It can help you do so many things in your communication. But AI on a corporate side also helps companies, be able to get better data to know how to support their field, how to have better promotions, even right down to what products people are looking for so you can have better product offerings for what your customers are even looking for. And a couple of examples that we looked at taking AI trends is we introduced a rosemary scalp oil. We really looked at the future and what was happening in trends and AI of what our consumers were looking for. We launched that, really leading in microbiome scalp health, and again looking at styling product trends. So clean beauty is continuing to emerge. Styling products are huge there. We've got over 13 of those at Lemongrass Spa. And I don't know if you've seen any of your listeners, there was a study, Becky, done in November of 2023 by Purdue about what happens when you apply heat to your styling products and the emissions that go into your hair. It's crazy when we start to look at different ways that we can utilize technology to help
Mhm.
us do better research and create better formulas and really lead not only in clean beauty, but now in clean styling products as well. So lots of things there. I don't think AI is not going away. It's continuing. We're going to see that continue to evolve and emerge. And I love that. Thinking about another trend like location, right? We remember like direct signs started like door to door. I mean,
Door
how
to door,
crazy is
living
that,
room to
right?
living room, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then started that, and then went to a website. When it started having replicated sites, people were like, "Oh my gosh, will people actually buy from me anymore? They'll just go to my website. I won't have any connection, right?" And then
Yeah.
parties went all virtual during COVID, right?
Right.
So I think you're going to continue to see the evolution of how people buy. I think trends in personalization is going to be able to continue. Automation, I think we're definitely going to see the continued trend in shorter sales cycles are going to continue. So that's not going away. That's going to continue to evolve. And I think some of the things that we're doing at Lemongrass Spa to leverage these trends, our customers like many can run reports. They can find what their customers have purchased. And now we have videos that have shoppable links. They could say, hey, it's time to reorder this product. They could shoot them a text with the video and the reminder, and that person just adds it right to cart in an immediate conversation. So you can really personalize your message. We took these simplified approach with, let's say we have a 3-step brightening system. It's a great 3-step skincare system. We know these go so well together. We have a video that actually shows you how to use the product, some of the attributes about the product. And again, they can just take it and send it. And some like you could watch that and go, oh, here's how to use all this. Oh, here's all the good things about it. Add to
Click,
cart,
click, click.
check out, right? So, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we want, right? We want to see that shorter sales cycle and the ability for our consultants to go, I'm going to work and I'm going to take a couple of these cool videos that my customers like. I'm going to utilize Project Broadcast. I'm going to send this out. I get home from work that day and sales came in. My video, the little links I had, because now I've got shoppable commerce. So I think we're going to continue to see that, not just e-commerce, but what does that look like for m-commerce? Because m-commerce is a thing, along with virtual recruiting, having those recruiting conversations that you're really utilizing m-commerce technology, and we're really applying that here. I think your value proposition, Becky, is going to be continue to be huge coming into 2025. I mean, let's all face it. We know the cost of milk and eggs and all those things have gone up, but people are still shopping. I know we're coming into the big end of the year grand finale for so many of our companies and really watching the consumer buying trends. Right now, it's tracking on average. They're guessing about 65% are still planning to spend the same, 15% a little bit more. So you've got about 20% that might be spending a little less, but I think we're going to still see some stability in this coming season. But how you're offering that value of that product, right? Breaking that down into what, if you're a direct seller and you might have some products, how do you break that down into the value? Maybe it's a necklace. It can be worn in so many different pieces. You can trend it up, trend it down. Maybe you're in the beauty sector and you're looking at, hey, this simple, I'm going to use that 3-step skincare routine. It breaks down to this per day. I mean, for taking good care of your skin in a simple routine that saves you time. So I think we'll continue to see some different trends along that. But I think the shorter sales cycle, how do you engage in virtual recruiting? Again, sharing, like making that m-commerce, e-commerce experience happen in AI. I think we're all going to continue
Oh
to
my
see
gosh. There was so much goodness in what you just shared there. I mean, so much in terms of trends. And I think what I love the most is that you're not speaking just to the direct sales industry. You're really speaking to consumer buying trends and things that are happening beyond our direct sales bubble. And I think a lot of the time, as direct sellers, especially being in the sales field, we really look at what's just happening with our team, with our company. We're not always looking beyond and outside to see some of these bigger trends and things that are happening. So I love what you said, that these changes and the evolution of the industry as a whole is really working for us, right? It's not just happening to us, it's working for us to help us be more successful. So I love that you have such a strong pulse on things that are changing out there and how things are shaken down and looking a little bit different than they have before, but how it's actually like a really good thing for the industry. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. I think we sometimes, to your point, we think, well, we sell through the direct selling model, but our consumers purchase
Yeah,
in lots of different ways, right? And so,
exactly.
what's impacting them and what are they seeing across the board? And even at Lemongrass Spa, we don't just look at, we love to see what everyone else is doing in direct selling because we learn from each other,
Of
but we're
course.
also looking at what are the brands doing? I spend time in Cosmetic Executive Women's Alliance, and I'm in those
Mhm.
calls and I'm looking at the trends of how people are buying personal care and beauty products, right? Making that so simplified at your fingertips to easily purchase items that make sense, that have a value to it. So, I think, again, to a lot of our companies out there, these are all really great things. And to really allow the field to know that we're all working hard to be able to make sure we have another
Mhm.
100 years of direct selling, because it's definitely not going away.
It's not going away, but it is still evolving. And it's a good thing. Change is good, even though I know for many that feels scary or kind of you feel a little discombobulated where you're like, gosh, my Facebook parties aren't working like they used to, Jodi. Or, oh man, like I used to be able to host an in home event and 20 people would show up, and I'm not getting that kind of results now. And I think it really is just pushing both corporate and the field to do things a little bit different and try things that maybe are a little out of our comfort zone or that we haven't done before. So, when we're thinking about the sales field and you have kind of this big picture view of the entire sales field at Lemongrass Spa, but when we're thinking about the larger industry, what do you believe that direct sellers should be focusing on doing more of right now? That maybe we kind of have our eyes on different things, but we should really be doing a bit more of in our business.
That's a good question. I think my answer is going to probably not be what you're expecting. And it's like, as far as advice or some things to direct
Yeah.
sellers and your listeners, it's more of a question, I think, especially where we are right now in 2024, coming in to going into the next year. And it's, are you managing your expectations about your journey in the
Mm.
industry appropriately, right? Because we know Rome wasn't built in a day. Everybody came out of COVID thinking, oh my gosh, this was so amazing. I could do anything. And people just bought from me, to, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I have to work, to now settling in and really looking
Right.
at, how am I managing my expectations? I mean, we know, it just talked about where the industry was in 2008 versus 2022. We know it's continuing to grow. We know
Yeah.
that many of the industries that you're selling products are not going away. They're evolving and they're continuing to grow. So my advice to a lot of them, especially as you're going into these next few months, is start to think about, instead of just having, like, if you're a goal setter, instead of just having a very specific, this is my goal, giving yourself kind of more of that bullseye, looking at your good, great, and awesome goal as you're coming
Love
into
that.
your third, your fourth quarter of the year. What is that? Like my awesome goals, my big stretch goal that's going to be like everything's coming together. The people I was hoping to join my team did. All my sales were amazing. Everything came together. Every host said yes to hosting. That's your stretch goal, right? And then your good goal is, no matter what, I know I can hit these numbers. I know I
Mhm.
can achieve this. And then somewhere in the middle is going to be your great goal, right? So I think giving yourself a little grace as you're kind of shifting and adjusting and getting excited about the end of the year and where your goals are is, continuing to go, am I managing that expectation, right? Because this
Mhm.
business isn't a win or lose. You've heard this before, it's a win or quit business, right? And so I was thinking back about this question. I used to train this cake mix theory, right? So about your business. So if
Uh-huh.
you were all closing your eyes right now and you were thinking about a box of cake mix, I mean, we can all visualize what a Betty Crocker or Duncan Hines cake mix box looks like. You can flip it over. You guys could all see the eggs, the oil, the water, right? You can all see,
Yep.
like, the little pictures of the eggs, right? So how does, Betty Crocker, Duncan Hines, how did they get, like, is the mass amount of people with so many different backgrounds and skill sets to have like the perfect chocolate cake, right? So, when we think about, and from a direct selling standpoint, that, anybody can buy a box of cake, right? Join a company, right? And then anybody could add some eggs. Yet, of course, you always want to be your own best customer. You're using the products, right? And then you might add some water. You're going to be selling some products. And then, of course, you're going to add some oil, and that's probably going to be sharing the opportunity. So those are your
Mhm.
ingredients, right? right, for your cake mix. And then, of course, you're mixing it all together, right? So this is your own personal development. This is your training. This is that consistent effort, right? You're mixing everything together in your business. And then what do you do next? You put it in the oven for 30 minutes, right? At 350. So that's that consistent effort over time. And what I have found in my 20 years experience, and what I hope isn't happening to some of these direct sellers, is they're thinking they're doing everything right, but they're expecting the finished cake in 10 minutes. And it's just not possible. So if you're going into the end of 2024, thinking to yourself, am I expecting this finished cake in 10 minutes, right? Am I expecting, I did everything I was supposed to do and the cake is a mush, but you didn't leave it in for 30 minutes. I really challenge you to get excited here for the next year. My other piece of advice, Becky, is not just focusing on those big whys, but the soft whys. And because I think the soft whys are really where the magic happens with not only new, but for those that are setting goals for the next year, is really kind of as you start to go through the end of your year and think about your next year, it's what are the soft whys, right? We all know that we talk about how much money you want to make, how many hours a week do you want to work in your business. And those are all important goals when you're working with your team. But you got to ask those soft why questions, because those are the reasons that are going to keep the cake in the oven. And so questions about soft whys, like I was enrolling you, Becky, and you were joining my team today. Of course, I'd be asking you those questions, but I'd immediately set putting that cake in the oven, right, for 30 minutes, I'd immediately set maybe a long-term expectation, saying, you know what, I want to set a date right now that we're going to meet a year from now. We're going to chat. I'm going to just check in. Let's just pencil it in. Maybe we're having a glass of wine. Maybe we're having a cup of coffee over Zoom, but let's make sure that we're going to meet. And when we meet again in a year, I want to know what's going to make this worth it for you that's outside of any dollar you may or may not earn. And so ways to talk about soft whys, right, is maybe making some new friends, maybe learning a new skill yourself. Maybe if you are in the skincare or maybe the clean beauty industry, because that's what we're in, you're learning about the importance of being able to put your head on the pillow where you have peace of mind at night, knowing what the products that you're putting on you and your family are not causing harm. Maybe it could be something different related to wellness, where you feel better about yourself, or maybe you've lost a couple pounds or whatever it might be. It's what are those soft whys that don't have any money related to that. So I think those soft whys coming into that, are you paying attention to those, not only for yourself, but for the newbies on your team? Because again, that's what's going to help you keep that cake in the oven.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I love a good cake analogy, right? I'm like, give me all the funfetti. I need the frosting. I need the sprinkles. I need all of that. But I really love what you're saying here, because I think it is important to set those expectations from the get-go, that this is not an overnight success story, that we're not going to figure this out tomorrow, that next week, Jodi and I aren't going to sit here and do another podcast and give you all the answers, but it's going to take a little bit of time for that cake to bake and to set and to be perfect. And I mean, it takes a little bit of practice too. Like, we're going to try this. We're going to shift here, see how that goes. Okay, we're going to maybe shift back a different direction. And I think that is all part of that journey of being a business owner and being an entrepreneur is, okay, I tried this. This didn't quite work. This needs a little bit more time to bake, or I'm gonna let that sit for just a little bit longer. And having that expectation from the get-go, not only for yourself, but like you said, with your team and those new people that are joining you. And it isn't that instant gratification. It's going to take work. It's going to take effort. There's things that are going to work. Things are not. Things need to bake a little bit longer until you get it exactly the way you want it. And I feel like that's such a great analogy of just where we're at as an industry as a whole. Like, we're all figuring it out together. We're all letting that cake bake.
That's what we do in life, though. Relationships, partnership, marriage, children, but the beautiful thing is in direct selling, you can't fire yourself. You could keep going and you get to readjust, and you have the control of your own destiny. And I think that's what's so amazing about this industry. You built it with sweat equity, not the banks. Who was that?
Yeah. I had a mentor that always would say, if you've had a lousy day in the business, you can fire yourself tonight, but then you can rehire yourself in the morning. I love that, right? It's that consistency. It's showing up. It's putting in the work. And I think it's a great expectation to set as we roll into the holiday season. We know that the fall is typically a really great time for sales. And I have full confidence this fall is going to be a great fall for most people out there. But things might look a little bit different than they did last fall. Or if you're comparing it to fall 2020, your business today looks totally different. So just a great way to kind of have that mindset and that mentality as you're stepping into the end of the year and kicking off the new year as well. Yeah.
Super true.
Okay, so before we wrap up, because I'm so anxious to hear about this, Lemongrass launched a brand new live streaming platform, Lemongrass Live. That's something that you rolled out over the summer. I'd love to hear just how your sales field is using it, any initial results that you're seeing, because I do believe as we're talking about emerging trends and how people like to shop and how as we as direct sellers can engage with those that are shopping, I think live video is where it is at. So I'd love to hear just kind of what you're doing over there.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We just launched this at our annual conference in July and really thinking about how do we support our field and all the things that we can be doing because we are, 100% committed to this industry. But we want to help again, helping our customers purchase, but also helping our consultants, right? Making it a little bit faster, a little bit easier, and a little and less time for them to build their business and being able to show others how much easier it is to do the same thing, right? That whole duplication piece, right? And so we really looked at like 4 different ways that our consultants can rock their business using Lemongrass Live. It's really bringing the future, like I mentioned, of e-commerce and in-commerce. So, if you've got someone that's more of an influencer style, they like to engage with their followers, sharing a quick link, they can easily do that. I mean, that's the beauty of this industry, right? That's what when you're thinking about ambassadors and wanting to share a link, how do you do that? We've got so many videos that they can immediately share. It's got that link. They're earning 25% commission right off the bat. It's super simple for them. So they can easily engage in that. Those that have, again, that influencer style, and maybe they've got a good following on Instagram or TikTok, and they want to drive their customers or their viewers to do a live streaming. So it's like QVC style. I'm showing you a product. And I showcase a product and it's populating right in there for them to purchase. So they're able to take that e-commerce experience and make it immediate. They can do their weekly get ready with me with their top beauty tips and be able to send that out. And it's not based on utilizing one social media channel. It's all happening on their websites, which is super cool.
I love that.
I know, right? You're not having to worry about going into Facebook jail or what Meta's doing because you're able to engage in a virtual platform. Taking that whole virtual party experience and getting people together, maybe 5, 6, 7 people, they're all face to face. It's like Zoom, but amplified. So they're popping in the products that they're talking about. And everything, what I love about this is we have over 300 some products. Everything that's about a product that's on our website populates. So I could be sharing the attributes of a product, how to use the product, what it's free from, nut free, gluten free, all right there. I don't have to be the expert. I pop it in. Everybody can see what I'm talking about. They can add it immediately to cart. There's videos to play. So even if they're like, I'm not sure what to share, they can play a couple of videos. And we did some testing on this. And 100% of the hosts in our beta testing preferred this over any type of virtual event. They were getting their host rewards within 30 minutes. 30 minutes, which is crazy. And as a consultant, they can see all the carts fill up with the items and they can capture their chat so they can remember the conversations. How many times that you're like, I don't remember the conversations that were had in an in-person event. So they're able to capture host rewards in under 30 minutes, which is so cool. And then really taking that one-on-one where they're able on their phone to be able to meet. How many people that are part of your listeners that have a question that come from maybe one of their customers in, maybe in our world, we have amazing body polishes and body icings, but sometimes people go, what's the difference of that? They're able to immediately send an impromptu link. And I say, hey, Becky, jump on with me for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to show you and answer that question with that quick difference. And now you're taking that question that they have and you're sharing that and turning it into an in-conversation experience, right? Yes. So now that conversation becomes shoppable. And we've seen some of our consultants say, oh my gosh, in like 5 minutes, I jumped on with someone. I answered their question. I showed them the examples of what I was talking about, and they put it in their cart. And I just made a sale in 5 minutes where I normally would have just answered that question in Messenger or Zoom. And I was able to do that. And they purchased from me. So really shortened
Wow.
sales cycles. So there's a lot of different ways that our consultants can rock their business with Lemongrass Live. We've got more things planned for it, but we're really excited. I mean, we're rooted in over 22 years here in a
Yeah.
deep history, but man, we are definitely looking at the next 22 years at Lemongrass Spa.
Well, and I hear that from my students that are in the academy working with lemongrass. And that's part of the reason why I'm like, Jodi, you got to come in and tell us what you're doing, because I love that there is 22 years of history there as a company, but there's also this very forward thinking approach of how do we thoughtfully give our sales field, give our consultants the tools, the resources, the skills that they need to really up-level their business in a big way, leveraging these emerging trends that we just talked about, right? And so they're truly set up for success. So I just can't say enough about all the incredible things that you're doing. And I'm excited for everyone to get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of all the good stuff you have coming. We could probably talk 4 days, literally. I'm pretty sure Jodi and I could just keep this conversation going for weeks on end. And we've done this before. Every time we connect, we're like, oh, what about this? What about this? And we're back and forth. So Jodi, tell us as we wrap up a couple things just for fun. What's your favorite office supply? And then, of course, we need to know where we can find you and where we can connect with those over at Lemongrass Spa.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Favorite office supply. That's going to be really easy because it's notepads. I have a notepad always next to me.
Always next to you. Yep.
I take notes on every meeting I have, every conversation, and it's more so once I write it down, I can remember it and I can see it in my notes. I have a semi-photographic memory, so I have to once I write it, I can recall what it looks like on my notes. So
that is impressive. I'm always like, where's my note?
So I have years of notes filed to the point where I'm like, I have to get rid of some of these old notebooks from like years ago because I just save them and I title them and stuff. So notebooks are my favorite. Always connect with me. I love LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is definitely the social media channel to keep an eye on and to be engaging with. You can find me on LinkedIn under Jodi Crater. Of course, Lemongrass Spa is on LinkedIn. And of course, visit us at lemongrassspa.com. So great place to always check us out. And of course, we do a lot of fun take a look calls on our Facebook page. So always keep an eye out for our take a look where you can take a peek at Lemongrass Spa on Facebook.
So we will link to all of those things so everyone can find them very easily in the show notes. Thank you, Jodi. This was such a pleasure. And I know it was a long time coming, and I feel like we saved up all the good things to share for this episode. So I just can't wait for our listeners to listen in and just take away so many ideas about where we're headed as an industry and also the cool things that are happening over at Lemongrass Spa. So thank you again for being here today. You are incredible. I am cheering you on, as well as all of those in the field over at Lemongrass.
Thanks for having me.
We are proud to welcome CinchShare as the newest sponsor of the Modern Direct Seller podcast. CinchShare is the #1 most trusted social media platform for network marketers, direct sellers, affiliates, independent consultants, virtual assistants, small businesses, and creators in any industry. Start your 30-day trial today with coupon code GAMECHANGER and spend less time posting and more time socializing.